fear, of uncertainty, of doubts, of pain. We've lost people. I have wavered. I have wavered. I have been scared, and I believe every one of us has been scared. We don't know what's going to happen. This week, my current fear is, will I live to see my children grow? You know, will I live to get over this? What if I get COVID and I don't survive, I die immediately? That has been scaring me. You know, the last week, it was another fear. But this one, I must admit, the biggest fear, every flu I get, every single scratchy throat, that first thing I think, oh my God, my children, will I live to see them grow? Will I live to do the things I want to do? I'm still young. I'm only in my, what do they say? 18 with a bit of 20-something years experience. I really need to get to 80, to 70, to travel the world. I want to save the world. My mission, I keep saying I want to do so much. And yet there's this fear that has started to cripple. And I kept saying, I can't let this fear cripple me. And so last night I was on a call with a friend until, I think one friend until midnight, and another friend till 1 a.m. and another one till 2 a.m. Because all over the world, people are actually living in fear, people are living in uncertain times. And the challenge is when we let it cripple us, when we let it take over us, then that's where the weakness is. So when we came up with goal setting, I said, this is the most perfect for me. I think this session is really for me. I'm here selfishly because I need it. I've been struggling to set my goals. But then one of the things I kept saying, but I have a bigger mission beyond just having my goals. I have something bigger that is driving me. If I ever forget that, if I let all this fear and drown it out, then I'm in trouble. And so when we thought about the goal setting, I thought, why don't I go back to basics of Girls for Girls? Why don't I go back to one of our cornerstone sessions, which is really about courageous leadership? And trust me, I again and again listened to the video from Professor Nancy Cohen, and it has helped to refocus me, to set me back to where I want to be. So before I go into a few remarks, I just thought I would just introduce Girls for Girls, but I realized almost everyone covers that with Girls for Girls. But just for those that are new to Girls for Girls, we are really an organization that seeks to empower women to lead. And I know people have used the word empowerment so many times in different contexts, but for us, what it means, all it means is that we want to create a pipeline of young women leaders around the world, leading in all aspects of their life, business, government, civil society, leading to change their lives. And for us, we are also passionate about seeing girls take action. Where they have challenges, where they have issues, where their community is paining, we want to see girls take action. That's how we are measuring our empowerment. We want to reach 1 million young women around the world. By 2025, we may extend that to 2030. But we also want to see girls taking action to change their lives and to impact their communities. That is what keeps me going. That is what wakes me up on a day-to-day basis. That is something that I am passionate about. And we have made a lot of headway. We only started in 2016, 2017, with the first pilots in Uganda and I think in Uzbekistan. And now we are in over 23 countries around the world. Amazing where our missions take us. 23 countries, we are traveling around the globe, touching each and every girl that comes into our path, and when those that we look out for. And we are so excited that in Africa alone, we have over 7 countries, with Botswana joining recently, and around the world, Brunei and Botswana are the latest entrants, and they've both already held mentoring sessions in the first weeks of January. Welcome on board. We have reached over 1,000 mentors. I think with the latest data, we're reaching over 1,000 mentors who we have trained in our methodology. We have a curated methodology. We've worked with professors at the Harvard Kennedy School and the Harvard Business School to come up with a world-class mentorship program that not only looks at key tenets of leadership, the soft skills around negotiations, communications, the art of communications, around leadership. What does leadership mean? But it also looks at how we tell our stories as women to empower others to lead. We are very strong in the belief that our stories make a difference. And so we mentor women who are passionate about mentoring, about reaching girls. We mentor them in our methodology. And we have trained almost, I think, 1,000 women as of now. And our next mentoring session is on Saturday 30th, and it's going to be led by none other than Team South Africa, led by Rita Motlana, who is speaking today. That is next Saturday, 30th, and Primera can share more information. We have also reached over 2,500 girls, I think at the latest count. We are waiting for the latest data, but these are young women aged between 15 years to 40 years. We're even getting women who are over 40 years being mentored. We don't have a limit. As long as you're a woman who wants to take charge of your life, who wants to impact your community, we are here to mentor you. And we don't lecture, we don't train, but we share our stories. And together with our Harvard curated material, we believe we have a world-class program that we have seen make waves and changes around the world. And one of the things that we focus on is really that there are 6 core models around building trust with women. We want to work with each other because we believe in the power of our villages, working with women, working on our inner selves, courageous leadership, looking at the art of communication, negotiations, running for office, ethics and values, core issues that we really, those are the core modules that we have. But we also encourage members around the world to bring in other things that are pertinent to their society. And now one of the modules that has really touched me, I always say all the modules are powerful. Every time I listen to one or go through one of the modules, I find it super exciting. We're actually going to review the modules this year and see how we take Girls for Girls to the next level. But one of the modules that has really personally impacted me is the one on courageous leadership. And I think at no time that more than now do we need courageous leadership, where the world's foundations have been shaken. Our personal foundations have been shaken, but the world's foundations have been shaken. What we knew as normal is no longer normal. What we knew as dear to us is no longer the same. And so we find we are shaking. And what this module tells us about is that we don't have to lead in a perfect world. You've heard of all those perfect things. If only I had a husband, if only I had 2 children, if only I had the perfect job, then everything will be okay. No, that is not life. And if life was like that, we'd all be walking on gold-paved streets and, picking the flowers at the end of the rainbow, and it would all be perfect. But what courageous leadership from Professor Nancy Cohen talks about is really finding who we are in the quiet, in these moments of doubt, in moments of uncertainty, in moments of trouble, in moments of pain, in moments of fear, not forgetting who we are, not forgetting why we are on this earth. And now that's one big issue that most of us struggle with. Why am I here on this earth? Ask yourself, why am I on earth? What is my purpose? Many times when you talk to young people, or even older people like us, or even much older in their 50s and 60s and 70s, and you ask, what is your purpose? At times people get scared. They feel like you're put, you've seen a rabbit caught in the headlights of a car. You freeze and like, what's my purpose? What am I here for? Many times we question ourselves, and that is right. Question. The moment you forget to question and you stop questioning and you move like on automation, on autopilot, which many of us started to do in 2020, because we were scared about the next day, we started doing autopilot. You go to the office, you come back home, you don't even plan because you don't know what's going to happen. The moment you stop questioning, the moment you forget the big picture, the purpose, the mission, then we are in trouble. And so for today, we want to take us back to that core question. In this time of uncertainty, what is your mission? And I'm going to give us 30 seconds. Just think about it. What is your mission? When you question in the quiet of your heart, when you're alone, when you don't have the TV on, when CNN is not blaring, when you're not in the office trying to meet those goals and sales targets, what do you feel is in the mission, in the bottom of your heart? What strikes you as important, as Professor Cohen says? What needs to be changed in your world? What needs to be changed around you? Let me give us 30 seconds, to just think about that. Okay, you could put it in the chat. What keeps you awake? What keeps you going? When everything seems uncertain, what keeps you moving? And you could just put it in the chat. I know what my mission is. I know what my mission is because I'm still growing, but I now know with certainty that I want to empower women. I want women to thrive. I want girls to thrive. And that is what I'm waking up every day today. And I'm so fortunate. I'm so blessed that I found a village of women who share the same mission. And together we're on that mission to reach 1 million girls. I'm doing it in everything I do, in my office work at Trademark, in my personal work. I keep thinking, how can we get more women? And the mission may change from time to time, but I know from when I was in my younger days, I always wanted to work with women. I always wanted to do things around women, but I had never had it concretely, like, how will it look like? What form will it take? I know for sure I want to work with women, to empower women, to keep them going. Now, if you don't know your mission yet, keep looking. You don't have to have the answers. Professor Nancy Cohen says, keep looking. You know, the most important thing is don't stop looking. I've talked about automation. Moments of doubt, into autopilot. You do the things you know how to do. You wake up, you brush your teeth, you go to the office. You can even drive without opening your eyes. Get to the office, open your laptop, start sending out emails, come back home at 5, and the next day happens. And before you know it, a year has passed, 5 years have passed, 10 years have passed. What is dangerous is for us to keep looking, to keep questioning, to keep asking. And we have a village of sisters around. And I just want to re-emphasize 3 points that Professor Nancy Cohen talks about that have really been critical for me. Actually, when I revisited the video and the notes, and I kept saying, oh my God, this was so timely, because I must tell you, I was wavering personally. So she talks about 3 things. The first one, keep looking. We are all not like Moses, who had the trumpets and say, go save the world, go forth and save my people. You may not get that trumpet in the middle of the night, but that doesn't mean you don't have a purpose. You do have a purpose. I have a purpose. We all have a purpose. But the most important thing, keep looking. And the second point, as you look, move from point to point. Don't get stuck. Don't get stuck. And that's why today is important. Today is one of those points where we say, okay, for 2021, what are my goals? What are the things I want to do? And for me, I need it, because for this 2021, I have to confess that I struggled to put down goals. I have put down goals of weight loss. Those ones are very clear about. I want to lose around 10 kilograms. And I must say, I'm already on my way. I've already started doing things to help me lose the 10 kilograms. But in the other aspects of my life, in my family, in my, different aspects, I'm struggling to put down my goals for 2021. I need to learn how to navigate point to point in some of those areas. And for me, today will be critical for navigating 2021. She says, keep looking, navigate point to point. It's critical. Don't stop. Keep navigating. Try this. If it's not working, try that, but don't stop. And the third one, and this one again, I draw so many lessons from it. Look up at the broader world. Don't lose sight of what is going on around you. Let me tell you, one of the biggest weaknesses has been this thing, the mobile phone. Many of us, and I'm guilty, because I have a million groups, I think, groups in Africa, Botswana, Uganda, South Africa. At times we get so stuck in looking at our phones, we forget to look up at the world. And then we keep wondering, why don't I have time? Because we are looking down so much that we are forgetting that there's so much existing around us, the beautiful skies, the beautiful trees, meeting with friends, which we have taken for granted in the past, and now we don't have it much anymore. What can I do to actually get back onto the horse and stop looking down and focus more on the world? And for me, one of the rude awakenings we got in Uganda, for 5 days, our government locked off the internet. 5 days. Can you imagine? With internet had been like life to us, like water, like food. And for 5 days we're off. And that, I think, has been it's been bad for business. It's been bad for our rights and everything. But I think for some of us who needed to take a step back, it was good that we took, we sort of stopped. And I don't condone it anyway. Please don't mistake my words. But what I'm just saying is that take a step back from just focusing on looking down. Look up at the world around you. Those 3 points that Professor Nancy Cohen talks about finding your mission are critical in this moment when we want to set our goals for the year. And for me, I believe that this is my moment. Rita, thank you so much. We'll also hear from Brian from Kampala Leadership Hub. We need this. I need this, because 2021, I need to get back onto the horse of going into my bigger mission. But I need to start with, what do I want to achieve for this year? So before I go out, I know we have a lot of exciting moments coming up. I just want to tell you, my dear sisters and brothers that are here, we might have moments of uncertainty. We might have moments of doubt. We're not saying that we are going to remove them. Fear remains part of us. When we talk about courageous leadership and moving from our mission to action, all we are saying is that keep moving, keep looking, take the step. Do not allow those doubts to trap you or to trap us in what we call falling through the floorboards. I have found people who have fallen into depression. Unfortunately, we have to say how we support our sisters and brothers, because it's so easy to let this big burden become across. The other thing is keep moving. Like there's a famous advert of someone who keeps walking. Let's keep moving. And I'm so proud today to have Rita and Brian share to us how we can keep moving in 2021. Thank you so much. Blessings. Don't let fear take over our lives. All the best for this session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Allen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I always enjoy listening to you. And it always gives us energy in the room when you come to the room and talk to us. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, thank you. From there, we're going to have the next session, session 2 with Brian from Kampala Leadership Hub. He loves and enjoys working with leaders, especially young people, training and development, and capacity building, coaching, mentoring them, creating scalable models for unemployed youth to serve in their communities. That's what he likes the most. Before now, he's worked in the alumni program at Global Health Corps. He's also an alumni chapter president for Uganda. He's been director of Uganda Center for Open Source Software. He has been an IT manager at Watoto, communications and documentation officer at Elizabeth Glaser, ICT manager at International Health Sciences University, and many other things. Drawing from his skill as a coach and as a mentor, that is why he is here. Brian, please, you can take on the session from here.
Hi, G4G. Very excited to join you this morning, and welcome. Welcome to not just the new year, but also to a great session. I'm delighted to join all the ladies that are working to facilitate and make this an exciting morning for all of us. Thank you so much again for inviting the Leadership Hub. We had a great time last year. A lot of dancing here at the Leadership Hub, and no doubt goal setting and the experience we shared together was massive. And that's part of the reason why we're excited to be back with you. Very excited about your workbook. I hope you love it, and I hope that you have looked through and found some really exciting stuff. We're going to talk through some exciting things, especially about 2020. In spite of what it looks like, I think that there's some exciting things we can find for the year. So what I hope you're going to find from our session today isn't just, you know, the usual stuff where we just come and drum up. I think the G4G has made sure that between Allen and Rita and myself, that by the end of this session, by the end of the morning, what you're going to get is a lot of ideas and inspiration for creating the best year of your life, creating 2021 in such a way that you will be able to look back, reflect on your workbook, and experience truly one of the best years of your life. And why do we do this every year? Why are we committed to the process of reflecting and sitting down and writing the ideas that we would like to see happen for us? I think really for me, Jim Rohn captures this well. The ultimate reason for setting goals, for reflecting, for thinking about the new year in a different way, is to entice you to become the kind of person it takes to achieve them. And so I hope that by the end of the session today, something is going to trigger in you the absolute desire and commitment to become the kind of person it takes to make your dreams come alive. And so Follow with me in your workbook on page 6. We did this exercise last year and it's back. A very, very exciting exercise. What happened in your year? This is a very exciting way to begin the steps to look to the future. What happened in 2020? Here's a trick that we always use. If you have your phone with you, take a moment, look through your phone gallery, look at your pictures. Your phone is going to probably arrange them by date. And that's a very good indication about what happened. So there's some ideas you're going to remember off the top of your head. I think certainly we want to demystify the joke that we only had January, February, and COVID, and then September, and somewhere we landed in December. I think there's much more to the year if we just stop to look. So take your pen in your workbook on page 6, start to write some things down. What are the highlights that you remember? Who did you visit? Write about the wedding you went to of a friend or a family member. I think one of the things that's special about this year is we're going to stop for a moment and remember family and friends who've passed away due to COVID. This is an important, I couldn't stress it further, it's an important realization of the world we live in and the fact that we couldn't do this session in person. This is the reality of our year, and we're going to take note of the things that happened. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Keep writing, keep looking in your gallery. If you have your diary with you from last year, flip a few pages, look at some things, think about those highlights, school, couple of sessions that you've attended, a conference that you might have wanted to go to, never went to, and managed to go to remotely. There is a lot of life that happened if we just stop to take a look. So go ahead, I'll be with you here. Let's see what happened in your life in 2020. One of the things that I would like to share with you that happened for me is the amount of time that I was able to get initially at the start of lockdown, stuck at home with family. I'd never really taken full view of what that's like. And for once, I was able to truly appreciate what that time was and to find the very best for it. It's definitely been one of my highlights for 2020. And I've already carried it forward in my 2021 as a big challenge to try and replicate all that stay home time and see how else I can benefit from it. It was very, very exciting. But I also joined hundreds of people who were on the roads, jogging, running. Now that we had all the time in the world, many of us were able to catch up on those fitness goals. And I hope that you did the same and as excited about raking up more than 300 kilometers in all of my running and all of my walking during the height of the lockdown. It was very exciting to see my fitness being tracked. So I really hope that you have written down some exciting things. You have every chance to keep working at this. And so I encourage you, look through the year, find those moments, find those highlights, put them down. Remember them for the benefit that they are, because these represent a key part of your life. And as we go on, we're going to take out some key highlights. So we found a very exciting activity the very first one, and that's going to be on page 7 in your workbook. It's a long list of words. And when you look at all those activities, something begins to settle in you about how the year really, really went down for you. And so we've put this word list here for you to try and pick out those words that stood out, the things that really, really stood out about 2020. Think of it as creating a word cloud. Think of it as creating a summary, one word summary of most of 2020. What do you see is on this list that resonates with you? And here we're talking about words that might be values. There are words that are actions. There are words here that simply define spaces or nouns that are of value, like the very first one, which is family. Find those words for you. If there's a word that resonates with you about the year and it's not on this list, write it down. Go ahead and write it down. What we're doing is we're stopping to just take a look. We have the benefit of 22 days now into the new year. And so we can truly reflect on 2020 in a holistic way. And I think that you're going to find this exciting. When you're done building your word list, this is the part where we move on to try and sort of distill the year into some of those very, very important highlights. I know most of us beat ourselves down. And so I'm going to give you a bait that you can use right now so we never talk about it again. So on the next page in your workbook, you're going to write down, first of all, 3 things that you did not accomplish in 2020. Now, think of this as, I might have been interested in doing this, or I really desired to do this and I didn't, or I started on this, but I never got to finish it. What 3 things did you leave unfinished in 2020? Write those down. I'll give you a moment to just think about, as you look at your calendar, as you think about those keywords, you're now starting to remember some of the highlights that you set out to achieve. What 3 things did you leave unfinished or unaccomplished in 2020? Awesome. Keep thinking. Work with me here. It's all right. We'll have a chance to keep writing. Now, let's move to, I know that by being alive, by being a part of this session today, you have already achieved the gift of life. And so that's something that we should all be proud of and excited to be able to hold the flag and say, yes, we made it, we're here. But I want to go away from, just being alive and being in existence. What 3 things did you achieve and you are absolutely proud of? 3 things you achieved and you're absolutely proud of. You see, at the Leadership Hub, we always use the word achieve because we recognize the difference between actions that we do and the outcomes of those actions. And so I want you to stretch your mind, not just to the activity, what you are a part of, but actually want you to think about and stretch it further to say, what did I really achieve out of this experience? What did I really achieve out of being a part of this? And if that's something that you're absolutely proud of, write it down. Let's see what those things are that really, really bring us the energy that we're looking for to kick off our year. And I love this one. We added it to our workbook last year. I'm so excited that it's back. 3 people. This is, I think, probably one of the most exciting communities that I got to work with, and to truly understand your mission. I think you guys are going to nail this, because everything I've heard and read about Girls for Girls is people holding each other's hand, helping each other up, scaling, tooling, supporting, mentoring, coaching, and developing. And I think without a doubt you're going to nail this. But people, let's talk about 3 people who truly influenced you. And yes, they could be Girls for Girls, but they could also be other people. Name them. We want to be able to recognize and celebrate and honor these people. And I look forward to hearing what some of that looks like for you. There's 2 prompts around people here. And we talked about this last year. I'm excited to bring it back again. We talk about people who influence us. We also talk about people we influence. People we influence are people that we proactively choose and commit a part of our time and investment to pour ourselves into their life. And so we seek them out, and we are intentional about being present in their lives and influencing them. So that's an important way to look at it when it comes to 3 people that you influenced. But I think the other framing that's important when you think about people is last year we had this discussion about influence and whether we can only look at influence from a positive sense of it. I want to make sure that this is important for us to hear. When we think about influence, it's ideally or most often used in a positive connotation. But I think we want to recognize when influence isn't necessarily for good. There's many girls on this picture, and if on the call today, and if a girl on this group today suffered a moment of sexual abuse, that would leave a very solid mark. It would be something that is almost indelible, and it would leave a very solid mark in her and in reflection. And whereas that's absolutely shattering and negative, it is an absolute moment of recognition of negative influence. It's something that happens that doesn't leave you the same, but we're able to take a look and say, this is a moment where I recognize that my year takes a twist. Something changes in how my year looks like. And I can look to this moment and still find the lessons I need to go forward, but I can look to it and see the influence and the energy that brings. So I want you to have and feel that confidence to step out and look for those people who might have played a role, even if that wasn't necessarily for good. I'll give you a moment now, and then we'll get back. And so just before we dive into the end of that page, which is the part where we celebrate page 8 in your workbook, I would like you to get into the chat now and share some insights about this prompt. What did you learn about yourself? As a result of all these experiences that we have, from the things we've written in what happened in the year, the 3 things that are involving achievements that we're proud of and those we didn't finish, the people that are around us, it's time to take this reflection further. And I want to look into the chat now and see what thoughts you're sharing. What did you learn? Not about the people around you. What did you learn about yourself? What did 2020 uncover about you for you? And I'm hoping that there's a lot of life lessons that we're going to look at here. What did you go through and you found you actually lived through it and you had the strength to get to the end, and yet you might have thought you were not capable of doing it? What experiences did you go through and you think to yourself, I don't have the skill set. It's time for me to go rebuild the foundations for the skills, because when this happened, I discovered I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't in the right frame of mind. What things did we learn about ourselves as a result of all these experiences that we've lived? I see some responses in the chat. Thank you, Edith. Thank you, Josephine. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Alice. Exciting to see. A lot of what I'm reading in the chat is people saying, I am more resilient than I thought I was. I saw chaos around me and I found a way to push it further. This is Naniki from South Africa. I learned that I could truly conquer my self-doubt and what I put my mind to. Thanks so much, Alice, for sharing that. Proceed. I have a lot of untapped potential. Can you imagine? It's sometimes very easy for us to sit in sessions and hear these things being told to us from motivational speakers, people who really want the best for us. The difference this morning is that you are telling yourself this. You are recognizing that this is true about you. And you can push forward, like Gloria says, I can push forward with courage. I have learned a lot to do with what I set my mind to. I think G4G is just the perfect bedrock to change our minds and set people onto a new way to think and a new way to think about life. This is exciting. Keep the chats going, keep typing, keep sharing. Let your colleagues and friends see some of the lessons that you have truly learned. But I think, and we played a little bit around with the title of your workbook. We sort of felt, you know what, 2020 has truly been difficult. And it's, for most of us, it might be really hard to celebrate the year. But then we said, okay, what's there to celebrate? Like, what is there to celebrate? And I think without a doubt, take everything away, take all the noise away. We want to celebrate you. I think for everything that has happened, you being here today is the ultimate celebration. And so we're not going to be all gimmicky about, you know, we could take all these good things out of there. No, I think for this year, it's all right. Let's focus on you. Let's focus on your resilience. Let's focus on you being here today. Let's focus on you being present and alive and learning all these lessons. And this is what we really want to celebrate. We want to celebrate you. And I'm so excited that when I look back into my 2019, 2020 workbook, I see a lot of stuff I could celebrate. But I think just like a lot of people are putting in the chat right now, I've grown. I've grown in a way that I look back and I'm so excited. And I think I deserve a pat on the back, but truly I think it's about celebrating who we have become and who we are yet to be. because we're going to take things forward with a lot of courage. Thank you so much for exciting responses and a lot of positivity coming out of this. So I want to skip for a moment. If you have been a part of our goal setting session last year, the next pages in your workbook are about the wheel of life. So this will not be very unfamiliar. Please go ahead and take some time, enjoy that activity. It's your activity to do, and you're going to find it very exciting. And Rita, who is with us from South Africa, is going to take us through an amazing session that's going to set us up for 2021. So don't be in a rush to fill the spaces on page 13 and 14 and 15. Hold on, because you really, really want to get into what Rita is going to share with us today before you put anything down. And so hold that moment, and I think you're going to find it was so worth it. But I want to end this piece with something that's always dear for me. And this is the idea of continuous improvement. So let me just end this so we can have a chat together. Just like last year, we really, really want to debunk the idea of goals, in the sense that most people think about goals as the finish line. And we think that as long as we move to that finish line and cross it, that everything is going to be okay. One of the things that at the Leadership Hub, we have had to work with individuals to appreciate is that the way we think about the vision and the mission we set for ourselves and for our lives isn't just about crossing the finish line. It's also very much about living a fulfilled experience as we get to the finish line. And so we think of this session not strictly in the sense of set a goal, work towards that goal and finish it. We also think about this as set a vision, set a plan for what you would like to do, and do not miss the life moments as you experience your way towards achieving that goal. And so this is why we believe very strongly in the idea of continuous improvement. This is why we believe that the way that we live our lives is about the commitment to grow and to grow continuously. And so personal growth for us is seen through a commitment to continuous improvement. And so what is it? I want to leave us with 4 ideas, not very different from a lot of what you have had in life before, but I think they are powerful in thinking about them for our lives. And the first is this idea of change. I think more than ever, 2020 has taught us to see change and learn to appreciate it. Stuff can happen that can throw us off the mark. Our lives are not going to be built around this idea of security and safety and stability. We may not guarantee these things, but we are going to be committed to facing and embracing change in a way that change does not leave us crippled. And I think that is going to be a key principle for making 2021 a very successful year. The second is we're going to act. We're going to not sit around, put our hands up in the air and give up. We're going to act. You see, the commitment to change is mostly mental, and you want to prep yourself to be there. But the mindset to act is the realness of the resources, the time, what is standing in front of me? What do I need to do? And as long as we're making and taking a step, there will be an improvement, however small, but we're just not going to do nothing. That's our commitment to making 2021 a much better year. Think of it in the very simple actions that you need to do. Your journaling, your reading, your personal development, your time with friends and family. However small, if you make a commitment to do something, that's going to make it different for the year. Number 3 is this idea of evaluate. The same way that we have spent the last 20 minutes looking over 2020 and everything it has been, it's exactly the mindset that we want to go into the new year with. We want to allow ourselves an opportunity to look at what we have, what we've done with it, and ask 3 simple questions. What's going right with the situation I have right now? What's going wrong with the situation I have right now? And what can I do about it? You see, we don't just want to think of evaluation in the quarterlies, the biennials, and the annuals. We want to be able to bring back shorter, smaller cycles, the weekly, the daily, the half a day. Take that moment, evaluate what's going right in this moment, what's not going right, what can I do next? And I think that's going to make the new year significantly better. And then finally, everything that gets measured can be evaluated, can be improved, can be acted upon. And so measure. Think about the tangible evidence that's showing up in what you're doing. What is it that's giving you the confidence that you're on track or that you're off track, that you have skewed off the line you wanted to stay on? You're gonna need a lot of measures or small floods of evidence that tell you, I think if this result comes like that, I'm on track. If I don't see this, then something is wrong. I'm not on track. I need to stop. I need to rethink this moment and get myself back on track. That's going to be important if we're going to make 2021 a success. I truly believe that what we're looking for isn't just living, breathing, and just going through life. I think we really want to thrive. We want to excel. We want to stand out. We want to stand apart. It's gonna be that commitment to the process. It's going to determine not just our success when we cross that finish line, it's going to determine our progress as we go and experience everything in between where we are now and the vision that we have set for ourselves. And so I'm excited that we can do this together. I'm excited that you guys in G4G have such a head start on very many people, because you already have a network that's built around this collective force. We can move together, we can grow together. I am here to push you to become better. And I think a part of me feels like maybe we need a G4G for men, and we need to find this energy that helps us to, to move together. And I'm truly, truly inspired by what you do at G4G, and I'm so honored and delighted to be a part of you. Please enjoy the rest of your workbook. There's a lot of activities that we've put for you. And if you have kids, I'm excited that we were able to find a lovely bonus for you that you can sit and work with kids. And by all means, in addition to your journal, we've put out some spaces for you where all of your reflection can happen month on month as you evaluate everything you're going through. And so I'm so excited that we had a chance to work together on this. And I look forward to hearing from you some exciting insights, not just next year, but also in the course of the year, everything you're going to be doing as you take 2020 and the life of it the lessons that you have learned from it, how you determine we're not just going to set a good vision, we're going to set good experiences, we're going to enjoy those experiences to the finish line. And so thank you so much, and glad to be with you this morning. Primera, I'd like to hand back to you for the session, and I look forward to hearing from Rita and everything else that's on the call today. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Brian. It's always nice listening to the session and going through about what happened in the calendar in the previous year. And then the idea of continuous improvement in our lives, that even after setting goals, that's not where it ends, that it's important for us to continuously measure and be able to understand how far we are going with our goals. Our third speaker of the morning is Rita Motlana. She's a consultant working in the health and development sector for over 17 years in over 20 countries in East, West, and Southern Africa, Eastern Europe, North America, Southeast Asia. And she is a shareholder and director of DevPart Consult, a company that specializes in providing public health and M&E services to large global programs. Then she's a certified trainer and facilitator of FranklinCovey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and 5 Choices to Extraordinary Productivity. Today, she's going to be sharing on unpacking the goal setting, and I enjoy listening to Rita. We worked a lot. She is the country lead for G4G South Africa. We've worked a lot, especially on M&E on a global level for G4G. It's been very interesting listening to her insights in terms of M&E. But today, she's here to tell us about goal setting. And she's one of those people who is very keen in her own life about setting goals. So she's not telling us from a textbook point, she's telling us from her own experience as someone who sets goals for herself every year. Rita, you're welcome to start the session, and you will also continue and introduce us to the extra for today. Thank you, Rita.
Okay, thanks, Primera. I'm going to ask for you guys to do what you did for Allen. Please turn on those screens. I want to see you. I want to see who is in the room, and I want to draw energy from it. Come. Yes, excellent. And I can see Pakistan is in the house. Of course, Uganda is, you guys amaze me. I don't know how everyone has managed to be here. South Africa is in the house, Botswana, Kenya, Zambia, Zimbabwe. Well done, yeah? This is truly a fantastic session. I always say it's such a privilege to be able to just like at the click of a button, and suddenly you're reconnecting with these wonderful women across the world. When Brian talks about how things have changed in our lives, we really now can take for granted that you can click a button and you can immediately connect into 5, 6, 7 different countries. What a privilege it is. So it's how you perceive things and how you look at things. It is an honor for me to be able to talk to you today. Okay, so we are going to talk about goal setting. What is goal setting? It's about the way I see it. It's about breaking down the different things you would like to do as you walk towards your life mission. So remember, Allen talked to us about having that big life mission, and she's encouraged us to reflect a little bit and to think about it, and listen to the Nancy Cohen video, which will probably help give you a center. So a goal is a desired result that you wish to attain. And the way, like I said, I see it, it's tangible bits and pieces of what ultimately take you towards your mission. So what we're going to be working on today when we say we're doing goal setting is really allowing ourselves to reflect on what are these big things I need to be doing. And when we talk about goal setting in this session, I'm going to really be focused on the year. And I'll tell you why in a short while, but I want us to focus on the year because it's a manageable piece for you to focus on. A lot of us are feeling overwhelmed. When we were talking about, yes, we're going to do goal setting, what do we really want to get out of the goal setting session? It wasn't only just to help you with setting your goals. We're also trying to help you gain some level of control. Like Alan said, a lot of us felt like we were out of control in 2020. I don't think there's anyone who at any point in time in 2020 did not feel overwhelmed. Some of us even now, 2021 started off for us in my family. We lost 7 people in the first week of 2021. It was like, I didn't want to look at the phone at one point in time. It was overwhelming. So you then need to say to yourself, how do I get control? So a good strategy for getting control is to just, sometimes you leave the big picture, like Alan said, you just zero in. And that's the strategy we are going to be talking about today. Goal setting in the context of roles, in the context of 1 year. You will learn skills and strategies. If you feel you want to do goal setting for a bigger portion of your life, you are welcome to do it. But because the intention is to help us all feel not overwhelmed with our goal setting and to feel like we are getting back into control, I'm going to try and help you guys keep focused on what is it you might want to attain in the course of this year. So I will ask you to look in your workbooks, the page I think that has been dedicated to my session, page 24. I want to reflect a little bit on this statement. Like you heard Primera say, I am a facilitator with FranklinCovey, 7 habits for highly effective people, and 5 choices towards extraordinary productivity. So for me, Stephen Covey is one of the people that I always go back to when I want to go into that reflective mode. And I'll start off with this saying. It says, all things are created twice. First, mentally, then physically, you execute. So the key to creativity is to begin with the end in mind, with a vision and a blueprint of the desired results. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to be envisioning our goal. But to put that into context, it's as simple as, think about when someone was making this dress, yeah? I don't think they just started making it, yeah? The tailor first imagined, what do I want to do? I want to make a dress, okay? I want to make a summer dress, no sleeves. I want to make a colorful dress, the colors. So the tailor, the person who was going to make this dress of mine, first sat down and said, this is what I want, the mental creation, and then proceeded to make the dress. So that's what we're doing in the goal setting. For you to have a successful life, for you to attain the mission that you wish to attain, you first have to indulge yourself and give yourself time to think about, what is it I want to do? And that's what this goal setting session is about, okay? It's that luxury to sit back and say to yourself, this is what I want to do. So let's get started. When you're setting goals, it is critical that you set your goals in a manner that inspires you and in a manner that doesn't overwhelm you. And that's why I said I'm going to start giving you a framework to focus on. As you start setting your goals, if you feel like, oh my goodness, this is too much and I need to do this and I need to do this, I will encourage you to prioritize, which means you're going to have to make choices. There are certain things you're going to say to yourself to stay in control and not to feel overwhelmed. This one, I am parking it for another year, or I am parking it for later. You're going to have to make those choices. A lot of times, the reason we fail in goal setting is because we try and do everything now. If I don't do it now, I will not achieve my mission. That is not true. You can always then sit down with yourself and say, it's not possible to do it now, so I'm going to park it for later. So the goals that we're going to set must inspire you. They must not be daunting and overwhelming that you don't want to come back and say, oh my gosh, now I have to be looking at my goals again. You don't want that to happen. So I'm going to encourage you to look at yourself through different lenses, the different roles that you are, because you are a complex being. when I ask people, for example, to describe who you are, I might end up with different descriptions. So they're the critical things we're going to do today. We're going to define what your roles in life are, roles. We're going to ask how those roles align towards your bigger life mission. Allen helped us think about mission. Brian helped us center on, things that are important to us. And then we will end off the session by asking, what is it I need to be doing on a daily basis so that I keep myself focused, executing my goals, so that then I am automatically heading towards my life mission. I hope that thought process makes sense. Huh? So life roles are who you are to the people of priority in your life. And I put roles in the context of society because human beings are societal animals. Yes, once in a while you might want to retreat and go and be on your own, but you come back to society. As human beings, we belong together. We belong in community. So when we talk about goal setting by roles, I will ask you to start thinking. So for example, when I was being introduced by Primera, she introduced me as country team lead for G4G South Africa because Primera is part of that circle of my life where they see me as such. But if you were to ask the consultants, the public health consultants that I work with, they will first describe me as a consultant, or maybe the shareholder and director of DevPart. If you ask the clients I work with, they will define Rita as a public health and M&E expert. If you ask my comrades at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, they will describe me as a fellow student. You see, there's so many different facets of Rita. But I am also a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a friend. So society sees you as different things. And you need to choose in your society what it is you want to excel at, which roles you want to focus on, but keeping in mind that those roles should be aligned to your greater purpose in life, yeah? So we start off by recognizing those integral manifestations of your life that make you important in the society that you are. So in the chat box, let's get chatting. Huh? One or two, just share with us what you think your key roles in life are right now. If I was to engage with people that know you, what would they describe you as? A mentor, a director, a project manager. You see, Francis, thank you very much. Husband, mentor. Thank you, Margaret. Yes, now they start coming. Sister, wife, mentor, coach, trainer, homeschooler. That was a new one that came on board in 2021. Yes. Coach, right. Excellent facilitator. I love this one. Trainer, advisor. Wow. So it's important. And the thing is, when you start writing, you'll actually start saying to yourself, what about this other one? What about this other one? So there are different elements that are affiliated with you. So what I would like to do is to give you a little bit of time. So either in your workbook, or for those of you who want to start using your journal, yay! For those who have their G4G journals, you can use one of the free pages at the back. I actually started using mine. There's a notes page that says everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear. I thought that was perfect to write on. But if you want to use your workbook, please go ahead and do that. And I want you to list 6 to 8 key life roles that you currently hold. And I will tell you why I've given you a number, but let me let you go at it. 6 to 8 key roles in life that you currently hold. I'll give you a minute to work through it. Let me know when you're done. Someone can put the hand up or something like that. Or a thumbs up like the one I've just done. Naniki's done. And you don't have to get to 6. Huh? Some people just have 5 big ones in their life. Oh yeah, and actually in the workbook on page, in the Wheel of Life, on page 12, it's a good balance. It's when you look at the wheel and the options that are on there, it's a good indication of probably the different components of you. So it might give you tips in terms of like what your life roles would be. Okay, Florence is done. Okay, Isabella is done. Are we good? Okay, okay. Margaret is done. Steffi is done. Good. Okay. So we've probably gotten, Violet is done. We've probably gotten a few roles down. I'll ask you to think about it. As you were writing down your roles, there are some that came naturally and automatically. Yeah? I think like Francis, boom, his husband came out immediately when I asked, you know, for roles in life. So there are some that will always be in your life. For instance, I'm Mama Keza. That's my daughter. I will always be a mother. That's a role I can never shirk. It is there with me. I carry it. But then there's some roles in your life where you choose. And for those of you, especially when you got to a moment where you were almost hesitant or you were debating, does this go in or not? And it's going to be, for example, it's an indication of where your life may want to go. And listen to yourself, because where you seem to want to go in your life is probably a natural pull towards your mission, but you have to make a conscious decision about it. So some of you, for example, might be considering studying again. That's how I ended up deciding to do a second master's in public health. I'm a lawyer. My current master's is in business administration, but because the work I do is in public health and I've specialized in it, I felt I needed the paper qualifications for it, and I needed to give myself a bit of time to go back and learn. So this happened to me 2 years ago. It started playing at the back of my mind, and I figured I put it down. And I finally signed up in August, and I joined the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. So listen to yourself. It doesn't mean that the role right now is refined for you. It just might be something that is, it's still vague. I want to grow my mind or something like that. It's okay. You can write it down that way and you will refine it over time. Don't overwhelm yourself by trying to be so specific and being so perfect and so accurate right now. No, there's some of you who might be considering a change in career. Just today morning, a dear friend of mine, yesterday evening, I learned has quit her job and is now going into self-employment. I think some of us, especially under the changed circumstances of COVID, a number of us have realized, wait a moment, I actually have skills to run as a self-running office. Maybe I need to think about something different. For this, even students that are already, in mid-course, maybe you're thinking about a different area of study, or maybe at the workplace, you're thinking about a change in departments because you came in this technical area, but you realize I actually enjoy project management, so I want to switch into that area. So welcome it. The point of this goal session is to, yes, define the roles that you currently have, but I want to encourage you to welcome and embrace those things that are standing maybe on the periphery of your mind. But I also want to encourage you to think about the roles that are negative and that do not seem to be aligning you towards your life mission. And those are roles that you might want to reconsider and drop. And here you have to be ruthless. But what I want to say to you is that it is a choice and that you get to choose. So negative relationships that make you feel drained, that make you feel less than what you are, put a star on them. And when you have your own personal time, think about them. Because that negative energy that is taking you away, first of all, from your life mission and your life course, or that actually just takes so much energy out of you, you no longer have time or you no longer have energy and enthusiasm to put into the other roles that are important for you. For me, it happened in 2008. I was an employee in PricewaterhouseCoopers. For those of you who have listened to my life before, I was the wife of a diplomat. So every country and every 3-4 years that would change, my professional life had to play and catch up. And in PwC Namibia, just as I was being promoted to senior manager, my boss at that time said to me, on the one hand, congratulations, but you know this is it for you, Rita. You're not Namibian. This is it. You're not going to go any further. And I thought to myself, oh, why? I mean, I'm coming to work for you every day. I put my heart and soul into this job for you. I thought I was finding value, but you tell me that this is enough. The beginning of 2008, I had begun to say to myself, I'm getting out of there. So I started the negative energy I'm talking about. You come to work or you engage with that individual where you have a relationship, and it's just draining and it's taking things away from you. You put a question mark on it. You don't have to act on it now. You can act on it later. So for me, for example, entering 2008, I'd already noticed I was losing weight. I was breaking out. I was unhappy getting into the workplace. So I'd already told myself, I am going to make a difference in my professional career. I did not know what that was going to be, but at least I made a decision. And the moment I did, I knew my role was going to change. That means, it means I was no longer going to be an employee of this particular organization. Just even making that decision immediately gave me peace. And it allowed me to, once I had peace, then it meant that I could now, in my own personal time, reflect. I started talking to people, and I finally mapped out my own path and decided to become an independent consultant. So this is the point, that identify those roles that have been in your life and make a decision as to whether you want to keep them. You don't need to decide whether you're going to do it now, okay? Are we together? I like thumbs up. I like acknowledge, okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, so thanks a million, Naniki, Edith, Alice, okay, great. I'm drawing energy from you guys. Aisha, that's fantastic. And if I am not clear, I tend to talk really quickly when I get excited. You can flag me and put a question in the box. I think Primera and Allen will be looking out for me. So a key, as we're going to zero in on the roles. So these roles that you have written down, I want you to do a bit of reflection, and Brian was really great. Thank you, Brian, by the way, for such a fantastic session. He helped us do a really good reflection, and I'm hoping you're beginning to see the alignment between the questions he asked you and the roles in your life. I want you to take a minute and think about the roles that you have listed and reflect on how well you did with them. Maybe some you did so well, and maybe some you did not do so well. So for example, for me in 2020, I think for the better part of the year, my role as friend and sister, and I use sister in a very broad sense, more than my biological sister. So Allen is my sister. There are ladies in this room who are my sisters. Steffi, Birunji, I think, is over here. I had done poorly. I can blame COVID, but I had really disconnected from my sisters, and I draw a lot of energy and grounding from them. So when I reached a point where I was feeling like this is just, it's not me. I'm really losing track over here. It became very important for me to reconnect. So the roles and the way you performed is important. I ended up, by the way, coming to Uganda and spending a beautiful weekend with my friends, which ended up grounding me. But it was that realization of, how am I doing in that role that allowed me to fix what wasn't going right? So reflect on your roles. G4G, I think I overcompensated last year. I think I probably did 120%. We were rolling it out. We were converting from in-person sessions to online sessions. We were training like mad. I joined the global G4G group, rolling out M&E guidelines for G4G. I overdid. And again, that over performance in a particular role also imbalanced me, because to do 120% in one role typically means you're pulling out of another. So again, I'm giving you that minute. Reflect on your roles and rate them in percentage terms: 50%, 110%, 80%. I'll keep quiet for a bit. Okay, you can give me the thumbs up when you're done, either on screen or good. Thank you, Florence. Okay, Aisha. Okay, okay, okay. So, I want to challenge you a little bit. Huh? We're thinking about our roles. We have listed our roles. We have assessed the way we did our roles. Yeah. So, for example, I told you I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a sister and a daughter. Sister is broader than just biological sister. I put those two together. My daughter means not just my mother, my biological mother. I have women in my life I call mother. My mom-in-law is mother. She has, in South Africa, become my mother. Friend, I'm a student. I'm a shareholder and director at DevPart. I'm a social investor. That's where G4G comes under. And I'm a consultant. So these are the pieces of me. This is where I started off last year. Yeah, and this is probably similar to what you have written down. But I want to challenge you. I want you to define yourself in a motivational, let me call it actually an aspirational manner. You heard Allen, she said, you know, as G4G, we want to reach 1 million girls. When you set your goals, you want to do it in a manner that inspires you. So what if, instead of just saying, I am a mother, I can say I want to be an awesome mom. I want my daughter and the daughters, some of them are in the room. I have nieces, I have mentees that I've really, they've become my daughters. So they fall under this cluster. If I say I want to be an awesome mom, what does that mean? It means that when my daughters look up at me, I would like them to say, wow, wow. And she's the person I can always come to for support, okay? What if I was to say, I want to be an exceptional wife? For me, this is something I've always said from the word go. I got married very young, but I always said, the traditional role of wife was never enough for me. I wanted my husband to know that he had a partner that was at par with him and that together we made each other better. So for me, I want to be an exceptional wife. This one has been a long running one in my life. In terms of sister and daughter, I want to be an inspiring and reliable sister and daughter. So for the longest time, I've always had reliable, that you can count on Rita. If you're facing challenges, I'm the person that you can come to. But after 2020, in 2021, I've realized I need to try and give a bit more energy. So more than just being Rita reliable, I also want to be able to give that energy and to keep my sisters and my mothers inspired and going. On the work front, what if I was to describe myself as the go-to consultant? What does that mean? It means that anytime someone is saying, we're looking for a really good public health M&E expert, Rita automatically jumps to the top of the list. So I'm not just saying I want to be a consultant. I want to be the consultant everyone who needs my skills and services thinks about. Being a shareholder and a director, I want to be a conscientious one. What does that mean? I want to have empathy. Yes, at my workplace, we come for a job. It's a professional environment. We're there initially to look after ourselves. People come to be able to make money. But even as we do that, we can do that in a humane way. And this for me resonates this year more than ever. I've had it described as conscientious for the longest time, but this year it makes a lot of sense. We have had to make decisions, for example, in my company, whereby a consultant says, my mother is ill, I need 2 weeks off. Meanwhile, client is looking at you for the deadline. But as a company, we've found ways of coping. I'll never forget 2 days before we were going into a training where we had over 25 countries participating. And these are public health experts from across the globe, some of the best that advise big global health programs. And someone said, my mother is ill. We did not even discuss it. We said to her, you know what? Take your time off. We are going to cover for you. So being conscientious, paying salaries, even when work is not being done. We do have that ability to influence it. We had staff that were unable during the lockdown to come to work. you can still consider that, you need to support people. So being a conscientious director and shareholder. Being an A student. So I always say to people, there's only one exam I've ever failed in my life. I've told that story before. And since then, I've always said it, I will never fail again. So for me, when I get my results, I'm as critical as when I look at my daughter's results. And I always say to myself, I must whack those results. So I have to be an A student. I don't want to be the person who they say, oh, she was in a classroom and they didn't notice that you were there. They need to know that I was there, an A student. And then in terms of my social investor role, so social investment is where Girls for Girls falls. It's also where, for example, the people, as Africans, I know a lot of you guys, actually from across the globe, a lot of us tend to support people in extended family and things like that. Everyone falls in my bucket of social investor. But more than just being a G4G country team leader, more than just being a G4G mentor, I always ask myself, Rita, what is the impact you're having? What is the impact you're having on G4G? Maybe as an organization. What is the impact you're having on G4G South Africa? What is the impact you're having on the mentors and the mentees you engage with? Being impact. Huh? But then, and I want you to all be kind to yourselves. I have said to myself this year, and this wasn't, actually didn't have this as a standalone role. I had figured last year, well, in the years before, a lot of times I would always say, okay, wife, sister, mother. I had all the different roles. This year, and that's why it's in the middle, I'm saying I have to be a happy, healthy, and balanced Rita, okay? So I want you to think about how to start setting your goals in an aspirational manner. And the route I'm giving you is one, we're going to do it by roles. We're going to reflect on how well we performed. We did that by giving percentages. And in each of these roles, we're going to define these roles in aspirational terms. So let me give you a little bit of time for you to do at least 3 to 4 roles and schedule them in an aspirational manner. Use those adjectives that make you want to make that an exceptional role in your life. Go ahead. Keep writing while I catch up with the comments. Okay. Okay. And let me know when you're done. Okay. 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 Are we good? Thumbs up? The online thumbs up? Or are we still writing? Aisha? Okay, Alice. Steffi, Kinney. Okay. Okay, Maniki. Okay, good. Okay. So the reason we describe ourselves in aspirational terms, there are a number of reasons. So, like I said, yes, it's to make sure that when you talk about, or when you think about your goal setting, it must be motivational. Eh? And that, yes, it must align to your life mission. Annan was asking about life mission earlier on, and I was writing it down. For mine, hinges around something like to live a life of purpose and shaping things positively as I go along. And I try and take that principle into everything that I do, whether it's work, student, mentoring, all those types of things. Huh? But the other reason that we are clear about the roles and the aspirational articulation of them is that it really should help keep you focused and to stop distracting you from wasting your time. So a lot of people ask me, how do you do all those things? It's one of, and I know there are a number of people who are in this session who are like trying to figure out how does Rita manage to do all the different things? And I always say to people, I think it's because I've mastered it. I actually have learned to say that activity you're inviting me to does not fit into my life. So the paradigm shift, the change in your mind that I'm asking you to do over here is to start living your life around these roles. And you should be motivated to do so because you have set them in aspirational terms. The thinking about what you do in your life around your roles helps keep you focused. It keeps the energy focused on your roles. And when you do that, it means you can deliver with excellence. You will not deliver with excellence if you're running around looking after many things and new roles are entering your life. That focus is very important, yeah? So one of the things I'm going to be encouraging you to do is that anytime someone says something, they ask you to do something new. For example, someone said to me, oh, come and join this mentoring program. It's a global one. I was so attracted to it because it described a cohort of students that I personally am affiliated with. It's deliberately targeting students across the globe that are not living at home, that might be facing fears. So for example, a Ugandan student studying in South Africa, there are unique things that they go through. And this came in December, it was holiday time. I was thinking, yeah, I'll sign up for it. When I came around to my goal setting in 2021, I quickly said, you know what, Rita, I think the mentoring is enough under G4G. So I wrote back with due respect and I said, I'm not going to be able to do it. And I explained to the lady who was recruiting me that in my bucket of mentoring, I have a lot I am committing to this year. I'm going to be mentoring, I'm going to be growing Girls for Girls South Africa. We're trying to formalize and become even more professional. And I'm also going to be supporting the global program. I'm sorry, when I look under my mentoring role, it is not going to be possible for me now to extend myself to another person. If I do extend myself to another mentoring program, I will not give excellence. And yet, my personal aspiration is to be an impactful social investor. So that helped me make a choice. I hope you're seeing how, when you've defined your roles in aspirational terms, it's easy. You make a choice, you make a decision with no guilt. I gave them a solution. I said to them, I cannot join you, but I know some wonderful people who can, support you. Because this was males and females. So I tackled my male colleagues and I recruited about 5 people for them. But it left me in peace. And I knew how to focus. And that means I can give my energy and focus to Girls for Girls. So the roles are important. It will help keep you disciplined and it will help allow you to make decisions in a calm manner because you've got your criteria. I want to be impactful. That means I can't serve on 100 mentoring institutions or on 100 mentoring groups. If I want to be impactful and give good quality, it has to be manageable. So it should help you make those decisions because wasting time on unimportant things or things that will take away from your ability to deliver quality is what you need to get rid of. So we're going to try redefining or going deeper into your roles and what it is you want to do in those roles for the year. Remember, I said to you, I really want to structure you to think about 2021. So I want you to look at the roles that you've written down, select one personal one. So for example, I might pick mom on my side and then take one other one. It might be work, it might be the social related one. I want you to identify 2 because I want us to do activities just to help you build the skill in it so that after this session, you can go and work on the 8. So in the workbook, let's start with the personal one, which is probably the easiest for most people. I want you to reflect on this role and I want you to think about the people that relate to this role. I want you to think about what you'd like to do exceptionally well in this role in 2021. So remember, we're not going for average performance. We're going for like the best possible quality that you can give. Brian had helped us do the reflection. What is it you want to do exceptionally well this year? And that should help you get to how you're going to describe yourself in an aspirational manner. So for example, for me, when I thought, okay, that was in 2019. In 2018, Allen introduced me to Girls for Girls. I came to Uganda. I spoke at a Girls for Girls event. The bug bit me. I came back to South Africa. I was like, this thing called G4G. And Allen kept on saying, don't you think the South Africans would like it? And I thought to myself, that's going to be another whole bit of work. Okay, fine. I then said to Allen, let me really think about it. And then I said to myself, but if I welcome this role of G4G mentor, what is it going to look like? So I thought about, who is it do I want to impact in South Africa? Is it just any girl? There were challenges I was facing at a personal level, and I think at a societal level. I always say to people, I think I could have been a politician if I was in Uganda. I'm not, because I'm in my adopted country is South Africa, and I don't think I can gain political traction, but I really want to change things. So G4G allowed me to then probably have that opportunity to be able to influence young women. So I was very clear. For example, I'll not lie to you that the priority is girls who will not have access to G4G-like materials, experience, and networking. That's who we really target, yeah? Underprivileged young women. So for me, all of this focus and going through that thought process helped me get to, oh, Rita, you want to have impact when you're a social investor. And that's what I'm trying to get you to do. When you think about who it is you work with in this role, as a mother, as a mentor, as an employee, as a business owner, an entrepreneur, as a student. Huh? What is it you want to do exceptionally well in 2021? And that will give you an idea as to how you want to describe yourself in aspirational terms. So give it a go in your personal role. And then the other role that you had selected, whether it was the work role or the social role, try and also describe it in aspirational terms. Again, by a show of thumbs, let me know when you have identified at least 2 roles that you have given yourself, you've described yourself in aspirational terms that you would like to be in 2021. Let me know when you're done with at least 2 roles. Someone is asking, Aisha is asking what page in the workbook? No, you're working freestyle, eh? So in the page that says Rita's session, there's some free space, page 24. Okay, Alice is done. Kini is typing away. Steffi, Naniki. Justin is smiling. Okay, and please, those of you who want to, do share with us in the chat. Like, how have you described yourselves? If you're willing to, if you'd like to. It will allow me to see that I'm not talking to air. Anyone willing to give it a go? And if you want to talk, you're welcome to talk. Yes, an exceptional wife. And she is a thriving and fulfilled business owner. Love that. Transformational mom. Results-oriented manager. Wow. Christine. An A student. Way to go. Yes, and the incoming year, an inspiring student teacher. Well done, Alice. Yes, Sylvia, awesome and present mom. Present, that is so important. Huh? Sometimes we are with people, but we are not there with them. That's right. Supportive wife, trustworthy employee, Naniki. influential employee. That's Edith. That's great. Good job, guys. Okay. 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 Yes. An incredible and exceptional mom. A reliable employee. Love that. A nurturing mom. Gloria. Woo! Now, Gloria nurtures like everyone she influences. We always see that in her mentees. Huh? So true of you. It's so powerful for you to be able to state it and to consciously be able to reference it. An inspirational friend, sister, mentor, Edith again. Yes, great. Okay. So I need to make sure that you have identified things in an aspirational manner for us to continue with the activity. Okay, Elizabeth, a committed wife, a caring mom, approachable administrator. So true, so good, okay. So now that you have a sexy wife, let's just take a moment. I like that, Alice Luanga, fantastic. I think we're sometimes shy about that. And maybe for those of us in the older age group, I'm 49 years this year, we sometimes forget that we do need to keep ourselves, you know, like engaging and appealing to our better others, to our spouses. It's fantastic to be, and I think very relieving and powerful to be able to state that. I'm really enjoying that one. Caring and supportive manager. Thank you, Violet. Affectionate mom, dependable and reliable friend. You guys have got it, okay? So let's do this. For the roles, what I want you to do now is, let me get it up. And that is why I needed you to have at least 1 or 2 roles described in an aspirational manner, because now we have defined the role and now we're actually going to set goals for that role, okay? So we have agreed in bits and pieces, we have roles, and within those roles, we're going to set maybe 2 to 3 things that are important for us. So I want you to reflect a little bit in your role as empowering mom. I will put 2 to 3 big things that you do by. Let me give you an example. So for example, when I was goal setting this year under my social investor role, yeah, which is where Girls for Girls falls. So I have many hats that I wear under G4G. My role is a bit complex. Huh? I'm a country team lead, I'm a mentor. I continue mentoring, I love it. That at the end of the day is what we do. But then I also last year got asked to join some global initiatives. So I had to then actually unpack this role. So for example, under my social investment role, as the G4G country team lead, okay, my big goal for this area, I will strengthen the management and implementation systems for G4G South Africa. Okay, that sounds very business-like, but I'll tell you what I mean. It means that I've always said G4G in South Africa will be like a professional entity. And we did that. We registered, we have a bank account, we have a board of directors. We didn't do as much as we wanted to last year because of COVID. We had to change to online sessions. So I felt when I was doing my review of this role, I got a little bit disrupted. So 2020, and yet the cohorts delivered. The women did an amazing job. We brought mentees on board. But I then, when I was doing my reflection, I then said, okay, I need to go back and refocus and I need to do better. So when Brian was asking, what did you not complete? This was one of the things that I actually wrote down because I'd done that reflection, that I really need to take G4G to the level that I want it to. So my goal is to strengthen the management and implementation systems for G4G South Africa. Forgive the very consultant approach, that is simply who I am. But how am I going to do this? And I've listed the big things I am going to do. So the I will is my big goal, but the by is the practical side of things. You've heard of SMART goals, to make them practical, to make them implementable. So these are the big things I am going to do. I am going to strengthen the cohort coordination teams. Rita cannot be everywhere. I've already told my cohorts. They're going to be cohorts that are going to run on their own. UJ, we have Boy Puso, who she knows what she's doing. Trevor Huddleston, we have Violet, who is in the room. She knows what she's doing. Really, I have to now empower people. It means that when I'm executing this role, Rita can no longer be too involved in the cohort coordination. I need to let people do it. They just need to say to me, this is what we need, Rita. We need more tools, or we need you to come in and do this. But really, it's taking off on their own. It's a conscious decision I'm making. 2, we're going to establish and empower subcommittees. So we're going to have, the social media was established last year. They really need to run on their own. M&E is new. We're going to be establishing it. Partnerships is going to be new. We're going to be establishing it. This is all part of professionalizing and putting systems into G4G South Africa in my role as country team leader. You'll note that I'm not yet even addressing what it means to be a mentor. And I'm going to continue participating in the training and building of skills. In fact, we're going to be designing a new training program under M&E. So these are the big things I need to do. And these are the things that are going to guide me as I am working my way through 2021. You can go ahead and set timeframes to it. So for instance, for me, if there was more space on the side, I actually have them scheduled by when I would like to do them. But don't get hung up on the time. And that's the reason why I'm not even putting this here. A lot of times people really buy into the SMART goals, that T, the time frame by which you shall deliver. For now, as you're setting your goals, we've already agreed this must happen within the year. And I don't want it to be overwhelming for you. So is it by April? Is it by June? Is it by... No. I don't want you to get overwhelmed by that. Let's just agree. In this role, what is it you want to do? And what are the big things you'd like to do? I'll give you another example to show you how I unpack my G4G role. So remember, I also have under my G4G role, the fact that I am going to be supporting the global team. I was asked to support them to roll out a new M&E system, and I agreed to. So in that sub role, I will support the development and rollout of G4G's M&E system. We designed it last year. Now it's about execution. But that's a big thing that needs to be done. What does it actually mean? There are two big tasks I have set myself to do. So I'm going to support the development and rollout of the M&E system. That's my goal. By doing what? By promoting and holding sensitization sessions on M&E. People don't like data. We have to win people over. So I realized we need to run a PR campaign. So that's one big thing we're going to do. And then we're going to train and build capacity in M&E. By the way, this is a plug-in for those who are interested in supporting G4G in M&E, or anyone who wants to work and just gain additional work exposure on M&E, come and join us. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to roll it out, but we're going to build a resource base for G4G so that our data is impeccable. In G4G, we always say that number of 1 million mentees, how are we going to prove it? We will only prove it if we've got strong M&E systems in place, yeah? So I want you to please take 2 minutes and think about how to articulate how to unpack it. So take your aspirational role. What is the big goal you want to do? And maybe list 2 to 3 things that you want to do underneath that goal. I'm going to leave this slide up a little bit just so that you can keep looking at it. And those of you who want, you can take a screenshot of it. Okay, I'll take that down so that I'm able to look at the chat as well. Any insights, any questions, please feel free to ask. This is not an easy exercise. I know it looks very logical, but sometimes it's challenging. But if you can master it now, even for one role, you will have done well. So as an empowering mom, your goal, and what you're actually going to do. And I'll wait for the thumbs up to know to proceed. Okay, Naniki finds it helpful. Yeah, forget the timelines. The timelines are what stress people out. Leave the timelines alone. We know we are talking about 2021. Okay. Okay, so thumbs up, you let me know. People are working. Okay, Alba. Mm-hmm. Irene. Mm-hmm. Naniki. We're 83. So if I get a 10%, then I'll move on. I think we've received thumbs up from about 4 people. Alice, thank you. Steffi. Aisha, okay. Okay, so I guess maybe while we're waiting for for everyone else, any feelings that you're having, feel free to note them down. Because I want to make sure that you're not getting overwhelmed. Any questions, any clarifications? This is good, okay. Gloria is good, okay. Okay, okay. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like, oh, I've lost the train, you're going to have to go back. The role, you express it in aspirational terms, you reflect on how well you did or how well you did not do, that assessment of percentages, and then you're going to say, in this aspirational role, in 2021, forget giving yourself whether it's by June or April, in 2021, this is the big thing I want to do. And then at least 2 to 3 big activities that you would like to do. So if you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, this is how I make decisions. List down those items or activities that you would like to do. But the judgment call is going to be, where will you add the most value? So use that criteria as you're looking at your roles. Use that criteria as you're listing your activities. Where shall you add the most value? Why is it about value? Because you want to deliver excellence. Because you want to make sure that you're heading towards your mission. So if you do too many things of low value, there's no point. Then you're taking useful energy away from where you could be having an impact, where you would be having maximum value. Okay. Okay. Oratile likes the debunking. It makes goal setting easier. I'm so happy, Oratile. It's one of my daughters there. Yeah. Steffi, powerful exercise. Steffi, this one was for you. I told you yesterday. Yeah. So that's a very good way I was sharing about where can I add the most value? And where you feel you're adding minimal value, let it go. Like what I shared earlier on, when I was now being invited to become part of another mentoring group, I thought, hey, now I'm going to have to join. I'm going to have to, what value am I going to add there vis-a-vis the value that I can add in G4G? So it then gave me peace, and I was able to make up my mind. Okay, so that is a way to help you when after this session and when you're working through all your different roles and goal setting for each of your roles, just ask yourself, where can I add the most value? And it's okay. Sometimes just narrow down so that you can have maximum value. Okay, Elizabeth wants clarification between the last two steps. Huh? One moment, let me get my PowerPoint back up. Escape. Just give me a second. Okay, Elizabeth. So remember we had said 6 to 8 roles. I don't know how many you put down, okay? And what I'm trying to do is give you a practical way to set goals, smart goals, for each of your life roles. And that's why I said, identify at least one role in your life. So for example, here, it's the social investor role that I have taken. But remember, I encouraged you to think about your role, like this social investor role of mine, in an aspirational manner. So for me, it's about being an impactful social investor, an impactful G4G mentor, an impactful G4G country team leader. Yeah. So that impactful is what gives me that incentive and that drive and that motivation and the inspiration. And that's why I asked you to define it. So we did that. And I hope you did that. I hope you'd identified an aspirational role, okay, and described it in an aspirational manner. Then this is the goal setting, the I will. What's the big thing you want to do in that life role for 2021? Forget what's going to happen in 5 years' time. We're thinking in the confines of 2021. What's the one big thing that you want to do in that role in 2021? This is your goal, the I will. That's what you're going to do. And then the buy are the actions you're going to take. Remember, all of you have heard about setting SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. But what I've done is I've focused you on the activity-based. I'm trying to get you to be specific, okay? So these are the big activities that I will be doing to make sure that I strengthen G4G South Africa in my role as an impactful social investor, specifically as a G4G country team lead. I hope it's clearer now. And maybe what we do, Rita has talked a lot. Maybe there is someone who can give us an example. So let me actually welcome someone to share. Francis, if you'd like to, please do, or anyone else. Let me know who it is and we unmute you and you can share. I just want to make sure that we've passed on this skill, because if you lose it here, then you might only have understood part of the process. Come. Primera is going to smack my hands. Primera, you need to let me know how much time I have. Huh? Okay, Elizabeth says it's clear. But can I have someone share? Alan, you want to share? I see your camera has come on. You're on mute, huh? You know you have your two
I was
devices.
just giving you moral support. I'm on 3 instruments right now. So I was just giving you moral support, but this is so powerful because having that aspirational aspect that I've met many people, including myself, we take on too much and we forget to focus. But when you know, if I want to be an awesome mom, which is one of the things I want to do this year, the steps you've laid out for me to become really an awesome mom to my kids, who I have in the past at times struggled to balance that time properly, girls for girls, work, children, you know, mother, and then I must take those practical steps. Vis-a-vis saying, normally the bland goals we set at the beginning of the year, I want to be a good mom. And then what does good look like to me? What does it look like to me to be a good mom by end of 2021? How will I measure that I've been a good mom or an awesome mom in this case? So I think for me, the steps are, it's a very good way. Having that aspirational aspect to it really makes me want to work towards it, other than just setting that big monstrous goal that I may not be able to achieve in the year. So I think it's very powerful.
Okay.
And then Sheila said something about too many things. Many of the young women are meeting, and not even just young, older women, we are doing too many things. At times, even us, at the other time when I spoke to mentors, I said, we have a challenge. We have miracle workers. People, we believe we want to make miracles, want to create, want to change. Remember the big mission. I want to change the world. I want to make things, you know, global peace, environment. I want to do this. And then we believe we are miracle workers. We think we can do it all at once. But what you're showing is you can actually do bite steps of that thing and not lose focus. Yeah.
And not burning out. So actually, you're right. Sheila has pulled out a very important point. Huh? And I was going to talk about it later, but I might as well talk about it now. The point of goal setting and putting down these activities. is really to do it in a rational and sane way so that you don't burn out. I think there's nothing as bad as having such great dreams and you have the potential and the capacity to deliver on these things, but you kill yourself in the process. On the G4G front, and I'm going to specifically pull out G4G last year, I think we all did a bit too much from a good perspective. We converted to online sessions and then we were training people. You remember, Allen, we were training people, we were saying, what is it you need to do when you train people online? It's very different. Training adults. In South Africa, we're rolling out new cohorts. We had only had one cohort, the pilot one in 2019. We're scaling up across age groups. It really became, and then you hit that point whereby you're almost burning out. And I remember having this conversation with a couple of the mentors in South Africa. I said, no, whoa. You will not be of value to us. And I had to have that talk with myself. You will not be of value to us. If you're trying to coordinate here, mentor here, set up a new system over here, you'll kill yourself. Pick one or two big things where you can do best value and focus on that. And I think it's okay to be gentle and kind to yourself and allow yourself to do that. So please, very important point. Thank you so much, Sheila, for that. Huh? Okay. So someone wants me on the side, someone has asked me to talk about my mother role. To break it down, I think they want from a personal perspective. Francis. Hi, Francis, you're put on your camera. Let me let you do the personal one, because I know you're so good at it with the kids, or they wanted demonstration of, I think, a more personal role. Or I don't know what it is you wanted to say. Go ahead, Francis. Sorry, no. Wait, I must introduce Francis. This is my brother. This is one of the mentors in my life. He's one of the people that guides me. He's like, kind of like, when things are going crazy, I just need to have a chat with Francis. So he's one of the people that grounds me. He is, he owns SEM, who are the franchise owners of the FranklinCovey products in Uganda, plus a couple of other countries. So a lot of the material I'm doing, and I was going to introduce him later, but I might as well do it now. A lot of the pointers I'm giving you come out of the 5 choices towards extraordinary productivity and 7 habits for highly effective people. And I needed permission to be able to do that. I've taken a lot out of my life. I've mixed, mashed, I've put a few things inside there, but I needed him here to, to give me the permission to do that, because these are products that are sold commercially on the market. But yeah, we co-facilitate a lot together. Francis, over to you.
No, Rita, thank you. And thank you, Allen. Thank you, G4G. Rita, you don't need any permission from us, right? You already know that. You don't need any permission to use it. I think it's just been great being here, listening to Rita as well as Brian. I think I've learned a lot. When it comes to this idea of the roles, I think, Rita, you've done an excellent job. From a mindset perspective, we know that life happens within the context of our roles. And I think that's what Rita said. So please get near to the mic. Okay, I hope you can hear me okay now. So life happens within the context of roles and mission. Back to what Allen said at the beginning, I would want to suggest to you that your mission is really what you do every day, right? Mission is not something that you wait to do. Mission is what you do every day. So for me, my roles, role of husband, 25th anniversary this year, certainly want to be an extraordinary husband in all of its ramifications. The things I do, yes, thank you, Florence. I see some of my friends on as well, Florence. 25 years, and the simple things, right? Being there for my wife, by being a trusted friend, a loving husband, and there are simple things we do to make those things happen alive. Talking about the period of uncertainty, COVID, one of the specific things we did was just taking walks together. Prior to that, it was difficult to get my wife to walk, take 2 steps out of her house. But COVID came, we now ended up doing, we started from 2,000 steps, 3,000 steps, and now we do 10,000 steps. And we come using the watches to see who is doing more, which raises another interesting point around the incremental nature of behavior change. Your ability to achieve extraordinary role is dependent on the small things you do every day. The research is quite compelling, and it's called progress principle. So let me just pause. Rita, let me hand it back to you. And if there's anything else you'd like me to add, I will come back and do that. Thank you.
we'll bring you back in. So that's the fourth secret person Primera was referencing earlier on. So yeah, think about your role and what you want to do differently. So the person was asked me to share like about my wife or my mother role. I'll build up on what Francis was saying. A lot of us have been locked up with our families, right? Under lockdown. So in South Africa, it was so severe. We could not do the walks that Francis is talking about. We could get into our cars and go to the mall, but we were not allowed, under lockdown level 5, we were not allowed out of the house. And it was tough, because in life, you're always meeting people for dinner, you're going out to family events and whatever. Now, we were locked down with people, whether or not you wanted to be with them. So I remember at one point in my time, I was saying, but my God, I spend a lot of time sitting here in my office. We're in the same house, but I wasn't engaging much. So I made a conscious decision. So for me, when I look at my wife, when I look at my wife role, when we talk about it in aspirational terms, remember I had said to you, I want to be an exceptional wife. I asked myself, what is it that he appreciates? What is it that he admires? Because that's what will make me exceptional in his eyes, isn't it? So my husband is highly intellectual. Anyone who has met my husband in 2 minutes, if you don't grab him here, then you've already lost it. So we realized that in this time of COVID, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to analyze. And then in was thrown the US elections, which again gave us a lot of fodder. So we watch things a lot together. So sometimes even for my work, I work in public health. Every time there's a new release on COVID, I think to myself, Oprah would love this. And so I attend Zoom calls on the TV downstairs with him, and we are having a chat, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm doing my work, but because that's what he loves. He's in retirement now, but he has remained so much involved in terms of, engaging with people. So I realized that's one exceptional way, to stay appealing to him and be able to engage with him. So the person who had asked me about, what does this exceptional wife role look like? And it might be, if he's interested in food, then maybe you want to turn into a chef of note or whatever it is. That's not what it is for Oprah. I know what it is that he finds appealing and attractive. So I set my activities in relation to him to be the exceptional wife, the aspirational goal. This year in 2021, I'm giving him more time than I gave in 2020. I locked myself a lot in this office. We did a lot of work over here. So I've told myself I'm going to find a way of balancing what I do with him. And that's why I'm talking about the fact that we are now doing some Zoom calls together, because I know that he's interested in my field, he's interested in COVID. We've had a lot of laughs, we've had a lot of tension around the US government elections. But the other thing is that my daughter is here. She studies in Canada. She's a student in Canada, and once the lockdown happened, she was one of the lucky people who managed to make it back over here. And we as a family now, we're reconnecting. He's one of those, he loves his children. So the ability for us now to co-parent together is something I've said I'll be deliberate about. I remember him once giving us some feedback and saying, but Keza and Rita, when you're together, the girl thing is just a bit too much. So now, deliberately and consciously, I'm saying, to be the exceptional wife, we're really going to co-parent better together. We have the privilege of having her here until August. So it's simple, deliberate things like that. Yeah, someone said to be a sexy wife. Maybe it is to pay your husband a little bit more attention. A lot of us, we wake up in the morning, what's the first thing we do? We pick up the phone. The next thing we do, we're dressing the children. The next thing we do, we're cooking. The next thing, we are now home learning. Then you jump into work. Then you come back. Then you're cooking. Then you're resolving issues. You're tired. You jump into bed. Have you given husband any time and attention? And yet you tell me that he's important in your life? Have you created that deliberate time consciously for him to give him the things that he wants? I would go through the same chain thought process for your children. What is it your children want? Do they want expensive toys? Do they want all the gadgets? Or do they just want time with mom? And even time with mom, what does it look like? Is it their kids who are outdoorsy types? Maybe that's what you need to be doing. Their kids, my daughter is highly intellectual. She reads like mad. I have had to read her books in order to join her mental space and to be able to engage with her the way that she wants to. So just think through it. This goal setting is not easy. It is not a textbook exercise. You really have to enter the role. And that's why I said, you recognize that other person. What are their priorities? And you will then be able to define yourself and start structuring activities that make you exceptional and extraordinary in their eyes. I don't think I can do any better than that, yeah? And we're coming towards the end. I want us to think about how we are going to translate these goals and these big activities into reality. Because it's another thing, it's very easy for us to say, okay, I understood the goal setting process. Even after here, you set down your goals and the big activities that you want to do, and then life starts to happen. How do you translate it into your day-to-day? You heard what Francis said. It's about those baby steps. Huh? It's building upon things. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to take one of those roles that you described and one of the big activities. And then for those who have their G4G journal, so this is my one way of showing you how to use the journal. I want you to turn to January. So those of you who have it, and in the weekly planner. And if you don't have the journal, that's okay. I want you to prepare, whatever your planning techniques are for your weekly planning. We encourage weekly planning. Huh? I want you to think about next week. I want you to pick one aspirational role. So for example, someone said, I think so Francis, for example, said, I think the amazing husband, or someone said exceptional wife if you were like me. Yeah, pick the one role. And in relation to that role, at least two of the activities that you talked about. So for example, remember I said under my impactful investor role as a G4G country team leader, I want to strengthen management systems. And I'd said, I want to do something on training. Guess what? On the 30th of January, we are going to be doing training. So for me, that is entering my G4G journal for next week. I also, under my impactful social investor, I have printed 10 copies of this journal that I'm going to be giving to cohort leaders and young ladies who have been exceptional in their G4G journey last year. So I'm going to be gifting them and just making sure that they have had access to this recording so that for the rest of 2021, they know what to do. But in a way, we will also still benefit. Our relationship will grow stronger. So think about it. Next week, and we're getting to the end. Next week, in an impactful role, take one or two of the activities that you have identified, yeah? And now translate that into something tangible next week. So for instance, for me, I said I'm going to continue building capacity. One way of building capacity is to train. Next week, I'm going to be training. I've made space in my busy life. By the way, I'm traveling, I think that night on Saturday to Kenya to meet for work. But I've made space for training for G4G. Why? It's important to me. It's important for my impactful role. That's how you make life decisions. So think about two things that you'd like to schedule for next week. I'm giggling over that I will watch football with him. So whoever who wrote the football next, put it down in your awesomeness as a wife. Mbabazi, put it down, pick the game, huh? Know which day it is. So in my house, I'm not even allowed to look at anyone else. It's Arsenal. Great. It's simple things like that, guys. That's how you turn things into reality. And again, when you're done, give me the thumbs up and we shall keep going. Naniki, I'm giving you a copy. You've been so supportive. This one is on me, the G4G journal. Lawrence is done. Two simple things under an aspirational role. Fantastic. Tanya, done. Alice, done. Alice is, Alice Akile Ndlovu is our alumni leader in South Africa. Very proud that she's here. Miriam, done. Aisha, done. Yes. Yes, that's great. Okay. So that's it. By the way, once you have identified your roles, express them in aspirational terms. And once you have then said, this is the big thing I want to do, and these are the big activities I want to do, life will get easier. Because what you then do before the week starts, you stop, you reflect on your goals, you ask, which role is going to be active next week? And we recognize life and reality. Like this week has been ridiculous for me on the work front. So I picked 2 roles that I was focusing on this week, that is non-personal. My personal roles always exist. Those ones I don't compromise. I always say, if anything happens to Rita, the ones who will miss me the most are going to be Keza and my husband. So my mother and my wife role, they're there every week, okay? But then there are some that are schedulable and where you can put them in and you can balance how much time you allocate. So this last week was really rough for me on the work front. We're running a 10-country project. I was split between Ethiopia and Uganda, some of the biggest portfolios to manage. But I also had this session coming. So I told myself, hey, manage your energies. That's where I was focused this week. So when you're going into next week, think about which roles it is that you want to focus on, which activities under those roles you want to deliver on, but they must be tangible. I want to watch soccer and that football game. That's why I said, know which day it is. Otherwise, Saturday will reach and then you'll be saying, hey, I missed the Arsenal game on Wednesday, right? So that's how simple it becomes. Now, this behavior, I want to encourage you to keep doing it every week. Next week, start with 1 role if that's what you're comfortable with. But I then want to say to you, as you build that behavior, at FranklinCovey, we say it takes 21 days to build a habit. If you continuously do it, it will now become instinctive. Every week, for me, it happens, I wake up very early in the morning, 5 a.m. Every week, Monday, I'm always asking myself, what am I going to be doing this week? So you pick your time. Some people, it's Sunday evenings, you know when your quiet time is. The behavior I'm encouraging you to do, reflect on your roles and ask yourself, what am I going to be doing in that role that coming week? And the journal has laid it out so nicely for you. You're able to do that. So as I wrap up, I want to give you a few last tips. Things that you could want to do is compartmentalize your life. Think about work will always be overwhelming. So what I do, I'm now just sharing my personal strategy. I don't know whether it will work for you or not, is that I actually keep two different diaries. This very boring one is my work, okay? But it is mad in here. I try and respect the things that give me joy in life. Girls for Girls, my family, the more personal roles. I've told myself this is going to be my tool for planning for my more personal roles. I'm going to leave, because before last year, everything would have gone into here. And I've been trying that for the last couple of weeks and I found that it works. So think about your system for planning. How do you plan? Where are you putting things, okay? So that when you do the weekly planning, you know where to go and find that. And like I said, another tip, discipline yourself to do things around your roles, but not just anything, the big activities that you have committed to yourself that will make you exceptional in that role. Do not be afraid to say no, because remember now, you're going to be able to say, sorry, I cannot do that. I cannot join another WhatsApp group. I cannot join another social activity. I looked at Rotary the other day, they were inviting me and I was like, no, I can't. Stockfell in South Africa, where the women get together, I would love to, but this year I cannot. So I was like, no, it's not going to happen. Discipline yourself to say no. You can always come back to it. Stay focused on your roles. I keep asking myself, what is it I need to be focused on in 2021? Just keep doing that and you'll find that it then becomes an instinctive behavior. Even in the workplace, these things of pulling you into new projects. Oh, Kini, because Kini is such a deliverer. Steffi is always a person who knows how to do things. Steffi, come and do this. Steffi, no, learn to say, listen, I've chosen these 3 things at the workplace. This is what I'm going to be focused on. I can help you find someone else who can fulfill that role. So try practicing that discipline. Learn to say no based on the roles you've chosen in your life. And remember to give focus. I think that's where I was saying I was going to come to it. Sheila talked about it. Few things, maximum quality. Let go of the things where you can add minimal value. I want to address procrastination a little bit, that postponement of activities. It will happen a lot, and this is when people start to feel overwhelmed. You feel overwhelmed because you have not done what you had wanted to do. So this is how I do it. I breathe out first, in through the nose. I do that about 5 times. And then I say to myself, okay, I'm going to postpone it, but it will not be procrastination if when I postpone it, I'm able to commit to myself that this is how it will be done and this is when it will be done. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, stop and say to yourself, yes, it is not going to be possible to deliver within this week. I will do it another time. I'll give you an example. I really was losing it this year. My books, my study books, which I always wait for, they're always sitting here near me, came through very late, 2.5 months. I could not study. My study schedule completely blown out of whack. So January starts, I'm taking my holiday time to catch up with the studies, and then work started. And we were told that big 10-country project was starting on the 8th of January. I remember even my daughter said to me, Mom, you need to take a break. So I said to myself, you know what, the studies, if I can just pack away a certain amount of work, I guess it's the privilege of being a consultant and an independent consultant. I can say to myself, this very intense project is going to put enough money in my back pocket for up until about April, which means if I can finish it by the schedule of mid-February, it then gives me freedom from work, which means I can then dedicate myself to my studies and I can do catch-up time. So guys, between mid-Feb and end of March, I'm going to be a student, okay? So someone could have called that procrastination. I do not. And I want you to be kind to yourself. If you can postpone with a clear plan and give yourself now what does it mean? It means I work 100%. I can do my G4G activities 100%. I'm not worried about being a student. I know when I'm going to catch up with it. Learn to walk yourself through that process. It will give you peace. And when you have peace and focus, it means you will deliver 100%, okay? Note that some, like I said, some roles are currently misaligned to your life mission. Be ready to, again, free yourself, relieve yourself, and let them go. The last thing I'm going to ask you to do is teach to learn. Another big principle at FranklinCovey. If you want to become a master at goal setting, the best way to do it is to take everything from this lesson today and go and teach someone else. Teach your kids. Go and discuss it with your husband. Discuss it with your colleagues at work. Discuss it in your mentoring circles. Because when you try and explain what Rita has just explained, or what Brian explained, or what Alan explained, you will have to think through it. You'll have to convince yourself, but more importantly, you'll probably add value to it. You guys will be able to describe it even better than me the next time we meet. So teach someone, because in the process of doing that, you become the master at it, which means you will understand it better, but you will also be helping someone else. So TTL, we call it, teach to learn. So I think I'm going to stop here. I'm sure my time is done. I think I'm handing it back to Primera, and yeah, back to Primera. Thank you so much, guys. It's been lovely engaging with you guys. I've been tickled by some of the comments in the box, but excellent. Thank you so much. Loving it.
Thank you so much, Rita. I was wondering if Francis was going to continue a little bit.
You know, that's to my embarrassment. I think I'm getting a bit nervous about time. Francis, my apologies.
No.
Like I said earlier on, a lot of the materials and references I've drawn from FranklinCovey. I am an accredited facilitator, so Francis is my boss. I used to own the FranklinCovey franchise in Namibia, but I would like to give Francis a chance. For those of you who are more interested in now really learning this thing, And Francis is always looking for good facilitators. And because we now do this thing online, folks like Gloria, Alice, Kinney can maybe even join the FranklinCovey team in Uganda. But I want to allow Francis a little bit of time to talk about the programs and the opportunity that is given therein, since I've drawn a lot from it. So over to Francis. My apologies, Primera. Francis.
No, that's fine. Rita, I think we can wrap up. I say a few comments. Alan, you said you wanted to take a break, about 5 minutes or so.
People had asked for a break for 5 minutes, but I know we're about to end because we have this and then the next steps. But I think let's take a 5-minute health break, because people haven't moved from the screen since we started talking. Since Rita started talking, people don't want to get away. I'm also spellbound here. Yet I had to speak somewhere else, but I was double hatting. So let's break 5 minutes only. People stretch, bathroom break, and then we run back to what you have to say, Francis.
Okay, yeah, we'll come back to Francis. Perfect. Yeah.
Primera, 5 minutes up.
Not yet.
I didn't. Not yet. Okay, I hadn't kept tab. I was just running up and down. And Linda, we're going to have more sessions, I think, because there's been a lot of demand. So we are thinking about a global session, another global session, yeah.
Yeah.
Super. Thanks, Alan.
I'm enjoying the little tidbits of what people are going to do. I'm getting so much chatter like on the side. I'm so happy.
It certainly sparked everyone because we needed that, being so, the year just started off in a funny way. So I certainly needed it. And many people have written saying this was what they were waiting for.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I think people are back. Maybe back to you, Primera, so we can start. Oh, sorry, Primera or Francis, so we can start. Yeah.
Yeah, we can continue.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Welcome back. So Rita, thank you. I think Rita laid out, as always, right, a phenomenal job of the 5 choices. So just a couple of things I want to leave you with, then I will hand back to Primera. In terms of some of the questions and what you can do, particularly what Alan mentioned in the beginning around this idea of mission and vision, I sent you a link. It's FranklinCovey.com. It's right there on the /MSB. So that's an online tool. It's free. It's available to you. So for those of you who want to dig deeper in terms of crystallizing what mission and vision means to you, you can use that to do that. And somebody asked, if you want to be a facilitator, where do you go? I've given you an email address, Boba's email. You can contact her and you can continue the journey. Then in terms of what I want to leave you with, I think 3 areas, particularly around building your own internal resources, because life is going to happen, right? And when life happens, there are 3 internal resources I want to leave with you, because really your capacity to do the types of things Rita and Brian spoke about is really dependent, right, on who you are internally. O'Brien talks about the idea that the success of any intervention is really based on the internal condition of the intervener. So while the tools are great and the templates are great, the real instrument of differentiation is who you are, right? And as you begin this process, there are 3 resources I want to share when life starts happening, right? First one is your internal resource around curiosity, right? Life is going to throw a number of things at you, and you may set a goal and not achieve it. You may want to do something with your husband, it doesn't happen. Rather than being, you remain curious and ask yourself, what are the 1 or 2 things you can learn from that particular experience? Because we're all endowed with this ability to be curious. Unfortunately, adults seem to default and choose judgment, right? The mindset there is one of learning, to always remain in a learner mindset mode, okay? Second, internal research, right? And especially in periods of crisis, uncertainty, a lot of people talk about sympathy and empathy, but we want to just take it a little bit one higher. We say compassion, right? The idea not only to see it from another person's perspective, but also to be moved towards action, right? And invoke the types of things we know you are endowed with to be helpful. When we are not compassionate, we are cynical, right? And nobody ever achieves anything with cynicism, right? So first one, curiosity. Second one, compassion, right? Then the third one, and I think Alan mentioned it in your reference to Cohen's work on courageous leadership. The third internal resource is really courage, right? And we invoke courage or activate courage when we are afraid, because the opposite of courage is to be overwhelmed, by fear. And in periods of uncertainty, I think we heard Alan in the beginning, she said, oh man, all of these things happening. Uncertainty will always be with us. We know from Nassim Taleb's work on anti-fragility. But we're also endowed with the capacity to be courageous, to act, right? One of the 4 things Brian left out with is the ability to act. So you want to ask yourself, what are the 1 or 2 things I can do in this instance, right? Remember, we say we are all products of our choices and decisions, not circumstances. COVID will come, COVID will go, but your ability to achieve mission will be dependent by the choices you make on a daily basis, okay? So those are the 3 internal instruments or resources I want to leave with you, that as life begins to happen, rely on those resources. And remember, just like we're reminded by Viktor Frankl, right, that which we are trying to do is already in us, right? It says we detect rather than invent our missions in life, right? You didn't create yourself. So your creator has already created you wonderfully and fearfully to achieve greatness. And everybody, all 84 of you, although sometimes it may not seem like it, your greatness is there, and your greatness is not a function of who you marry or what geographic location you are in. It is really around your creator, okay? So guys, thank you. Thank you for having me, and look forward to being supportive in your journey to building, great women of purpose. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Francis. Thank you so much. I would like to take any question.
Yes. I just wanted to say, Alan doesn't Francis sound like a G4G facilitator under courageous leadership. It's like everything. It's being
that's
he is
true.
lost. He needs to come to the G4G because he's lost out there. You need to just come and just be girls for girls. And as we start boys for boys and all that, we are going to need to work with you very closely.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Francis. I'd like to take questions if there are any from the participants. You can drop them on the chat, or you can ask to just speak and unmute your mic and ask a question. In the meantime, I'd just like to ask Allen to give us some closing remarks. Just give us something in terms of closing for the session, and then Rita, and then Francis.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, there are questions coming in, but I just wanted to say that for me, I needed this. For those that don't know, I've known Rita since we were 11 years old. That's so many decades ago. And we've become friends, we become sisters, and more recently, we've become partners. What do you call this? We are working together in this village to change the world. We are working together in this mission to impact our world. But one thing I have learned from Rita all the years, Rita around her roles, she will even not be shy to say to me, Allen, I won't do that. I'm sorry, this week I'm focusing on my studies. Do not come to me on anything. And I love that about Rita. Rita is very intentional. The things she has said, being very aspirational around her roles, very intentional on that. She will tell you, this week I'm focusing on Keza. This week I'm focusing on my books. And Rita, I'm so happy. When we thought of who to speak at this session, we thought widely, we thought globally, but we kept coming back to Rita because Rita, you live these goals. You do this on a day-to-day. You say you're going to do it and you actually do it. You aspire, but you do. And for me, I take away so much. I know I'm that one person who struggles with, I can do very big things. I'll run, I'll do this, but I know I need to ground myself because otherwise we will not get to execute. And I wanted to just highlight that's the next session we'll have midway through the year. You have now laid these goals. How are you doing? How are you executing? Did they remain ambitious and a happy feeling, a buzz, a romantic feeling after Rita's talk or the session, and you left feeling happy for the week, and then life happened, as Francis said, and you became, by March, you're really now a bundle of nerves, or so much has happened, you're focusing on a million things. We want to come together in June and say, how am I doing on execution? Because a goal is nothing unless you execute it. A vision is nothing unless you put it to paper. When we started Girls for Girls, it was just an idea. It was just an idea. We were young, not even so young, but idyllic women saying, oh, we've learned something. Let's go and change the world. But how? Where do we start? Imagine if I had said, I'm going to change the world and start at the global level and say, I'm changing the world, and all I do is talk about it. But I came down and I'll never forget the first circle I started in Uganda. The first circle ever in Girls for Girls was started in Uganda in a small school called Mary Reparatrix Bugonga. And I had my village with me. 5 women went with me. I asked my friends, who will go with me? I'm starting something interesting. Come with me. And 5 women went with me. And Rita is telling us today, these roles that we are setting, who is going to work with you? Who is going to support you? Professor Nancy Cohen also talks about the village. Don't think you can do it alone. We are not islands. We are not alone. There are people around us to support us. At times when I'm flailing, I'll call Florence, I'll call Rita, I'll call someone up, I'll say, I need help, I'm struggling. Last night was particularly hard. And I called 2 friends and we spoke for 2-3 hours, right until I think 1:30 a.m. I was on the phone, really encouraging, but also being encouraged. So don't ever forget that you're not alone. You have people with you. And so maybe we'll take a few questions. I've seen Belinda has asked a question. Others have questions, and we'll try to wrap this up in the next 15 minutes or so that you can get on with living these goals. So over to you, Primera. I think there's a question from Belinda, and I don't know if there are any others.
There's a question from Aisha. She starts with, what do you return in times of doubts? The aspirational value attachment is a strong pillar to hold on to, and still anything else to keep in mind? She's asking.
Can I take that one now?
Yes, thank you.
For me, this is where it dovetails so beautifully into Girls for Girls, your village. I always say to people, we say, have a village under the courageous leadership model. We're encouraged to know your village, huh? But I always challenge people to go a little bit further. when you have people in your village, know what each member of that village is good to you for. Yeah, there are those who are pick you ups. There are those who you go to think through professional issues. So for example, Steffi and I, we spend a lot of time talking about work-life balance, work-related issues. But then there are other people. So for me, like I said, Francis, like when I really feel rudderless, lost, I know who to go to. Alan is a person who always brings me joy. And with Alan, it's multitasking, it's work. We're both lawyers. We come from, so we talk about school, we talk about this, we talk about children. Our children are about the same age. In your village, you will find who to turn to. But for you to know who to turn to, you must have defined what each member in that village is good to you for. And also what you're good to them for. Remember, it's about giving back as well. You can't always be there taking from the village. Also know what value you are. And that's how, when people in your village are in a suboptimal state, they're sinking, they're drowning. If you know what your role is in that person's life, you will step up. You will step up and you will say, Francis, today is not looking like a good day for you. How can I help you? Maybe I can, just have a quick chat with you. It's a two-way street. But yeah, that's how I use my village. I know who to go to, but I also keep it conscious in my mind that I need to be giving something to the people in my village. I hope that answers.
Thank you very much, Rita. Belinda, I have seen your question about being a moderator. I have sent you my number. Please WhatsApp me. I'll make your dream come true for this year. If it's part of your goals, I will work with you. I have a question from Josephine. What strategy do you use to still pick value from the other ones you have said no to? The ones that are not in your current role?
Sorry?
What strategy do you use to pick value from the ones that you have said no to? The ones that are not in your current role?
Okay, so that question can be answered twofold. If you've been doing it, yeah, and then you say no to it, remember there's that reflection. Like, what did I add to that role? What did I do in that role? And why is it suboptimal now? Maybe you finished what it is that you came to do. There are people I have mentored in life. I think I've brought them as far as I can, and I'm able to say, now I can move out because the value addition I have in that person's life, I've done. There's a young man that I met while we were based in Uganda, 2012, 2013. As a student, he really needed someone to guide him. And in many other ways, I supported him, worked with him. He graduated. He's one of those people I would see his results and I'd break into tears. And it was so tough to let go of that role. I literally became mother to him. And I had to let it go. He's an engineer. Because guess what? He's now flying. He just went from one role to another role work-wise, and he was flying. And I realized I was still clinging onto this thing and still trying to meet up with him and make time for. But I really needed to let him go. So that one wasn't negative. It was to say I've done what I needed to do. It's now time to part ways because the value addition in that one is not going to be any good. In roles that turn negative. So for example, the one that I gave you, the example that I gave you of when I left formal employment, it taught me a lot. It taught me to never allow other people to define how happy or how sad I am. So that's what I learned coming out of it. I hope I've answered the question. If it's roles you have not yet started, then you don't have experiences to draw from. But whatever it is, whether it's a role that was really good or whether it was a role that was that ended up turning negative, always reflect and say to yourself, what did I learn out of it? And make sure that you don't lose those lessons and that you apply them consciously going forward every day. I hope that answers.
Yeah, can I add to that a bit? I always think about the candy store. You know, when you enter the candy store or when you enter the shop that is selling, let's say you enter H&M or those who love shopping, let's say a candy store, there are going to be a million sweets you can choose from. You can either choose the candy stick, you can either choose the chewing gum or bit, you can choose whatever, but you cannot choose it all. Now in life, at times we want to do everything. So if this one brings an opportunity to say, if I miss that one, I will miss that. Then someone else comes up and say, if I miss that, I will miss that. And then before you know it, you have so much on your plate. Before you know it, if you eat too much candy, you have a stomach ache. And that's what Rita talked about earlier. I want to talk about the burnout, the pain. I've talked about it a lot in Girls for Girls, and I want to focus on it a lot this year as well. We have to watch out for that stomach pain from too much candy. We have to watch out from this, that big mission you have, you want to change the world, you want to do so much, and you end up picking too much candy, too many things that you're doing. Even me, I have to keep talking about it myself. I learn a lot from Rita on learning to say no at the workplace, because they know I'm a hard worker. Everyone tries to pile everything. Allen, you lead on this. Allen, and at times you feel you're so excited, but I'm learning to say, no, it's okay. Let Peter lead on that, And at times you will regret and say, you'll see Peter shining, you'll see Peter being out there, and you think, oh my God, I missed an opportunity, but then I have my sanity. So just remember, like us in a candy store, you cannot do everything. You have to see what to pick for this year. There's too much. Otherwise, we are trying to catch up from 2020. We are trying to think life is leaving us, then we do too much. We will end up with that stomach ache. So yes, there might be regrets, but know that you have the sanity, and you can now, next year, as Rita said, you can maybe take up that thing. There's always enough in the world. And one of the things we're talking about in Girls for Girls under negotiations is the value mentality. There's so much in the world. There's so much. Where that pie came from, there will be more. And you can even create value yourself. But that's a topic for another day. But yeah, over to you, Rita.
I would like to build on that. Again, reflecting on, I think, the theme of today's session and how to not be overwhelmed. Again, I'll draw on another concept that we talk about in FranklinCovey, whereby to focus yourself, focus on what you can influence. There are many things that bother us in this world. Like right now, we call it circle of interest. There are many things that interest us. What is happening in the United States politics? In Uganda, what has just happened politically? It has riled us. Yeah, COVID has it's taken over our lives. If you focus on everything that is of interest to you, you will be overwhelmed. What we encourage you to do is to focus on what we call your circle of influence. Where is it you can do something to make a difference? So, for example, under COVID, yes, there are many cases every day. In South Africa, we've now discovered a new strain, which they say, is way more, it passes on much faster, which is why we're seeing higher numbers of people in hospital. What can I, as Rita, do about it? What can you guys do about it? There's certain things that we've been told. You can, first of all, manage the case, the distribution of the disease across cases by first controlling your own. Mask up, sanitize, social distance, stay in your homes. Yeah, focus on what you can do. So the moment you do that, and I think a lot of us felt that, for example, at the beginning of the pandemic, it was lots of data, lots of things, lots of whatever it is. But the guys who figured out how to come back under control quickly were the ones who focused on, okay, what can I do? And sometimes to even turn it into opportunity. Francis told us he started walking. Brian told us he started spending time on family time. A lot of us here in Girls for Girls, we said, okay, this actually provides us an opportunity to reach people in a faster model. So focus on your circle of influence, even in the workplace, even as a student. You say to yourself, there are many politics that are happening. Fees must fall. What is my role? What can I do within my sphere of influence? So that is one way of controlling yourself and not being overwhelmed. But it is also a trick to growing your influence. If you become a master in a particular area, you will then, and once you master something, you will then begin to have even wider influence. So for example, under Girls for Girls, last year we were really thrown off when we said to ourselves, okay, what are we going to be doing? This COVID, we cannot meet. Then we said to ourselves, okay, let's start doing the online modules. And then in delivering the online modules, we actually realized we're so good at it. We now started doing fireside chats. I don't know whether Stella is in the room. She has become the guru in that. We then started doing book club webinars. In South Africa, we hosted a GBV webinar. Guess what? By thinking, okay, let us focus on what we are able to control, which was the online delivery of mentoring sessions, we ended up becoming masters and now started having a wider influence. So always, that's a really powerful strategy. Don't try and do too much, just focus on what is it I can do now. And if you continue to do that, you will actually start to see that you become more and more powerful because you become even better at what you do. That was a bit of a diversion. I've seen one more question I want to answer, and then I'll hand it back to Primera. Jessica has asked me how my 2 diaries, whether it won't confuse me by having 2. Remember, develop a system that works for you. It works for me because as Rita, I have my personal time separate from my work time. So under my personal time, for example, I typically 5:30 a.m. to about 8:30 a.m. This is South African time. I focus on my personal things. So most instances I'm studying, but maybe then I create the last hour of that bucket of time for girls, which is why it's easy for me to know. It means that if I'm in between the hours of 5:30 a.m. and 8:30 a.m., this is my guide, okay? Between 8:30 a.m. and about 5:30 p.m., this is my guide because it becomes work. After 5:30 p.m., I go back to doing my extra business, which is the Girls for Girls, my personal roles, like my mothering role, my time with my husband and things like that. It works for me. No one can give you a perfect system. You have to say to yourself, what is it that works for me? So for now, if you feel it's confusing, please have your one diary and structure it that way. For me, it's a personal decision that and that's why I said I will share with you what works for me, but it's really up to you to decide what your system this is about planning. Huh? This is really about planning. It's up to you to decide what planning works for you. Some people are so good on IT. They have all these alerts and things like that. Others are really good. Cell phones, they know how to trigger it. Choose what works for you, as long as it works for you. Thank you. Back to Primera.
All right, thank you. There's a question about sharing the recording. The recording is there. We shall share it to everyone who has attended the session. And then there's another question on how do I become a FranklinCovey facilitator?
Yes, thank you. I think we've also answered that in the chat. I provided an email address for those of you who are interested. Just email Boba, and she'll be glad to schedule a time to meet with you. So we're excited about your interest in becoming a facilitator. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for attending the session. Our next session is on 5th June. Hope Francis will be able to join us. We'll be able to look at our media and look at our goals and how we've been able to work them through. What have we achieved? What are we planning to achieve? So I'll see you guys on 5th June to be able to assess. Same time, online, same place. We shall be able to send you credentials for everyone who has attended this session to be able to attend the next one. Now, before you leave, our tradition where we are able to take pictures, you turn on your camera and we take and caption the pictures. Thank you. Just a minute. Okay.
Are you taking?
Yes, I am.
At times it's good as well with a screenshot. Rita, you know how to do those screenshots.
I tell you, yeah. We'll do a couple.
Everyone looks so beautiful. Wow. Annette in Kenya. I'm seeing Dr. Shiba Jita. I haven't seen her in years. Oh my goodness. Where are you from, Jita, Shiba? Which country are you in? Uganda?
Yes, I'm in Uganda. It's a pleasure
to
be here.
Wow, wow, wow. I last saw, I think, in Namagunga over 20 years, 30 years ago. Yeah. So nice.
Yeah.
Wow. Edith in South Africa. I'm seeing Margaret in Zambia. So exciting. Thank you all, dear sisters, dear brothers. I know there are few brothers on, but thank you so much. We'll have, Aisha will work with Primera on a follow-up session for alumni because young girls are really also asking, they want to have this session. So Rita, Brian, Francis, I hope you are able to do a follow-up session for the young mentees, because this one has, I think, mainly mentors and a few mentees on.
Yeah. All right, thank you. I've been able to take the 4 screens. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for attending the session. It's been exciting. And yes, Rita, we should be able to do a follow-up session. I shall work with the presenters for today, and we try and arrange for another session for follow-up.
Okay. Teach to learn. Please go, set your goals, and teach to learn. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Thanks for an excellent session.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you, Primera. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you and bye.
Thank you.
Oh, Anne. Anne with the baby.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, Penny, you were able to join. Penny all the way from Zambia. Hi. Wow. And there's our Patricia. Patricia, good to see you. Happy New Year. And I can see all the young people who are joining in 20, when these are mentees for which year? 2020.